This is the 20th Annual Women's Memorial March, and it began with the murder of a woman on Powell Street 20 years ago. Women were so outraged by the extreme act of violence that happened to this woman, and her remains were distributed at various places around the community. She was a Coast Salish woman from Michelle, and her family had came over to Vancouver, and they brought an Aboriginal seer, visioner, with them to be able to find her remains. And at each of the sites that they had found her remains, they had done a ceremony and said prayers. And so today, we stop at all of the locations where women were murdered in this community, and more recently, the women that are missing from this community. So we leave a red rose for the murdered women and a yellow rose for the missing women. There are still 32 women from the Downtown Eastside that are missing from this community. And we don't know what's happening with their investigations. Are there still people investigating or looking for those women? But every year we come together to remember these women. There are still a lot of acts of extreme violence that happens in the Downtown Eastside. And through the efforts of Sister Watch campaign that was recently launched, it was the end of October, in conjunction with the Vancouver Police Department and women's organizations and individuals from the Downtown Eastside. We meet on a regular basis to try to address the violent issues that are happening, especially against the most vulnerable women in the Downtown Eastside. So with that, I will turn the mic over to Mona Woodward now from Aboriginal Front Door to speak more on this.
Valentine's Day is always a bittersweet day as we honor and recognize the missing and murdered women of the Downtown Eastside. I come to you as a family member of a murdered woman, Ashley Machiskinek, and her death was a catalyst for some of the changes that have been happening in our community and the mobilization to the healing. And from that came Sister Watch. And I work at the Aboriginal Front Door Society, which is a drop-in center, and we're in a war zone because there's so many issues that are happening in the Downtown Eastside. And you know, the dignity that should be given to everybody is not given to these people, especially Aboriginal women. And one of the issues that is in the forefront of our community and is very, very difficult is the Tremblay case. Martin Tremblay is a perpetrator of young Aboriginal women, and he has impacted our Aboriginal community. There's family members of the two young girls that have overdosed, Martha Hernandez and Kayla Lalonde. And today the family members are going to walk to honor those two girls, and also the Aboriginal youth organizations. And today, I can say without a doubt that you know, we're working hard to combat violence against women, especially in respect with the Tremblay case, and that you know, we're taking a stand and we're becoming a more unified front, and we're always keeping up with the current issues at Aboriginal Front Door. And some of the other issues that have come to the forefront is you know, violence that's perpetrated by city jail attendants and the use of the hobble. And there has been a lawsuit launched against the city because of the people that are supposed to protect our women, and they're using forms of torture that's really barbaric. And so that's another issue that Aboriginal Front Door has been aware of, and working with the woman to help her and advocate with Legal Society. So thank you, and on the relations. I'd like to introduce at this time Angela McDougall from Battered Women's Support Services.
So much for being here today. My name is Angela Marie McDougall, and I do work at Battered Women's Support Services, but more importantly, I am a committee member of February 14th Women's Memorial March. And as you know, this is our 20th year. And it is a pivotal year because of the mobilization of the women in this community, where we have come together as a coalition of women and women's organizations in order to address the systemic issues and the institutional issues and the attitudinal issues and barriers that are affecting women, primarily Aboriginal women in this community and beyond. It matters to us very much that this community, that the message gets sent very loud and clear that this community is not a community where men can come and do violence with impunity, nor can men be in this community and do violence with impunity. That is our intention, to send that message very loud and clear. On September 28th, 2010, I'm going to be referring to my phone here because my notes are on my phone. The provincial government announced a public inquiry into the missing and murdered women's case, naming the inquiry the Missing Women's Commission of Inquiry, which is a misnomer. We are talking about missing and murdered women. The absence of the word murder is telling as we go forward in looking at a number of the issues related to the inquiry. Under the Act, the government had the option of establishing a joint study and a hearing of commission of inquiry, which would have allowed the inquiry to be more broadly focused and better able to provide a complete account of the circumstances surrounding the missing and murdered women case, partly because the study commission is empowered to undertake research on the issues at hand. However, the commission has defined a very narrow terms of reference. The terms of reference between January 23rd, 1997 and February 5th, 2002 captures a point in time where we had a very prolific serial killer at play. However, it does not capture the realities of many women that we know that have gone missing and who were found murdered outside of that time frame. Going back to 1986, and I believe we have 1969. So women such as Elaine Allenbach, and who has been missing since 1986, and Tracy Alajide and Mary Legere, who were both found murdered in 1995, would not fall within the terms of reference. However, we know very well that the issues at play, in terms of the attitudinal racism within law enforcement, the jurisdictional issues between the Vancouver Police Department and the RCMP, were in effect prior to 1997. And it matters to us that the women that we know, that we've known in this community, have justice. Now, it matters to us very much when we look at the terms of reference that what has happened with the terms of reference is that it's capturing issues with respect to missing and murdered women along that stretch of highway between Prince George and Prince Rupert, which has been known as the Highway of Tears. It is really important to note that there are some incredible differences between the issues of missing and murdered women in that region and missing and murdered women in the Downtown Eastside. And this decision to catch all within this inquiry is a mistake. And we are identifying many mistakes that have been made leading up to this. The lack of consultation with family members, the lack of a co-commissioner, a lack of meaningful Aboriginal, Indigenous consultation. And this stretch of highway between Prince Rupert and Prince George is important in that the issues are very different, in part because many of the missing and murdered women within that region are not women at all. They're girls. And a significant portion of the girls within that region were in the care of the provincial ministries at the time of the disappearance. And, you know, this decision to catch all within this terms of reference is a mistake. The time frame that has been established is short. We're likely to have the shortest inquiry in history. And we're talking about, quite frankly, the most pressing social issue of our time. The murder and the disappearance of women from our communities. Women who are the backbone of our communities. Women who are the leaders in our families. Women who are at the center of our society. And for all of us as women, we should all be extremely concerned about this lack of attention by our provincial government with respect to this important concern about murders and disappearances. Now, the February 14th Women's Memorial March Committee has developed a coalition with the Downtown Eastside Women's Center, and we've applied for standing. And we intend to, we expect that we will be given standing, and we expect to bring the voices of women from this community in all of the ways in order to meaningfully impact the inquiry. The question will be whether the Commission will be wanting to hear this information and apply it.
My name is Lisa Yellowpool. I'm a Blue-Blooded woman, strong medicine and understanding. Free Dakota, I'm a Shabe from the Lynx clan in Manitoba. I've been here since 1990, and for the better half of that time, I lived in the Downtown Eastside in this neighborhood, and so I'm here today because I was there. I'm still here because I still work in this community, and I work with the women who experience the violence that's going on, and that's why I'm here. Somebody said to me one time, Somebody said to me, the women in the Downtown Eastside, you're making it all about the Aboriginal women. I said, that's not okay. Because that's how they get away with it. And that really touches my heart. And touches my heart on many levels, because that's how they've gotten away with it in the past. So I stand here today with my sisters, my allies, and we work to end violence, specifically in this community, but we care about women around the world. We have women from around the world standing with us. We have women across the provinces in Alberta and in Manitoba right now preparing to march, to raise awareness, to remember their loved ones that have been lost to violence, that are missing and murdered. And I think that, they're not going to get away with it, because they, meaning the systems, as Angela was saying, the institutions, and the attitudes, the beliefs around the value of women, value of that female side of life. We carry life and we bring it into this world. And I think that, we should be honored for that. And we're standing up and we're taking our rightful place, at the center. And we're speaking to the issues. Today we're going to have some warriors walking with us, and we want to acknowledge them too, because, they've You know, their roles have been replaced with patriarchy, paternalism, you know, and that's, you know, we know that that's where the root cause of this violence comes from. Foreign beliefs that oppress women, objectify women, sexualize women, institutionalize women, pathologize women. So I say miigwech, I say thank you for those warriors who are going to walk with us today and take their place on the outsides, making sure that we're safe to walk. You know, that's their traditional role. And so we need more men like that. We need to remind our sons and our nephews, our brothers, their responsibility for carrying life. That's their traditional responsibility, in my understanding anyway. So it's going to be a good day. As Mona said, it's bittersweet. You know. And we're going to heal. We're going to do it with love. All narrations.
Thank you very much. My name is Mabel Nipshank, and I'm here as a member of Aboriginal Women's Action Network today. And I actually wasn't going to speak, but here I am. I've been doing the work for a long time, and I seem to be saying the same thing over and over and over again without much changes. And then I just realized I think I will probably go on talking, and until as long as I can speak, I'm going to go on talking.
There you go.
Even if I have to be saying the same thing over and over again until I'm heard. And I think one of the things for me that always sticks out, and I've been saying this for a number of years now, and it is the way that the media will portray when they're reporting on the issues of violence against women. Oftentimes the focal points seem to be on the women's lifestyles, but nothing's ever said about the perpetrators coming in here and knowing exactly who to prey upon and get away with it. And I think the Green River murder said it really loud and clear. He said he purposely picked prostitutes because he knew that it would go unreported for a long time and maybe not reported at all. And that's exactly what happens. And I think this view really has to change when you're talking, in regard to Aboriginal women, the view that seems to be out there. That we are lewd, that we are uneducated, that we are all addicts. And that is so not true. And until that happens, Aboriginal women are always going to be preyed upon. So I'm calling upon you today to please not refer and not focus on women's lifestyles when you're reporting the murders, because I think what happens then is that what really happens, which is the femicide that takes place and happens, the misogyny that takes place, really gets lost in that. And I think that's where the focus has to be. Thank you. All my relations.
I've been asked to make an announcement that Nikita Jack has been missing from Surrey since Thursday. She is 5'5", 130 pounds, and that if anybody has any information to contact the RCMP, Surrey RCMP. And if there was any doubt that there is a war on women, I understand that the RCMP will be holding a press conference, the integrated homicide unit in North Van, and will be laying charges with respect to a murder of a woman, her body that was found in North Van. And a woman that was found in Burnaby, Carla Marie Smith. If there was any doubt that there's a war on women, we have to just look at this past few days to think about the numbers of missing women and the bodies of women that have been found. Delana Bowen.
Like right now, as we gather here and as we speak, women are being preyed upon somehow, somewhere, whether that's a John wanting to buy their services or being put out on the street. As we speak, this is what's happening. A couple days ago, there was a woman's body that was found behind the Balmoral. The name still has not been released. You know, so it continues and it happens.
And that's a good segue into what I want to focus on. Thank you, Mabel. My name is Delana Bowen. I have been involved in the Women's Memorial March organizing committee for the past 7 years. And I want to address something that I think is important, that we think is important about this crisis, and it is a crisis. You may live in a neighborhood that is wealthy. You may live in a neighborhood that is middle class. Women that go missing, the result of poverty is that the men that come to this community looking for women, I'm sorry, I'm going to be brutally honest, is your uncle, is your nephew, and it even may be your father. Women do not choose or are born to say, I want to be a prostitute. This is the result of poverty, systemic racism, and inaction by the powers that be. I am really honored to be part of this committee because through all of the years that our voices weren't heard, through all of the years when evidence was brought forward, these women, and long before me, Harriet Mahaney, Viola Thomas, Rita Blind, women stuck to their commitment to have this crisis heard in this city, in this country, and in fact it's happening around the world. Everybody has a mother. Everybody. And I want you to think about your mother lying in a gutter somewhere as a result of violence. This isn't okay. This isn't okay. You, and when I say you, I mean everybody that lives in any city, any community around this world, are as much a part of this crisis as those direct families and people that have worked for this cause. Why? Because when women are murdered and nobody stands up, that apathy perpetuates the problem. It's your sister. It's your mother. We need to understand that we are all a part of this situation. And how you involve yourself is going to make a difference. This public inquiry, although it's not what we want, is a result of the commitment of this community to raise the profile of this issue and not accept no for an answer. When you go home tonight and you have young daughters, I want you to think about the possibilities. And if you're really true to your heart, you can't not do it.
I'm sorry.
You can't not do anything. This is our problem. It's not just a Downtown Eastside problem. It's not just a Mexican problem. It's not just an Asian problem. It's everybody who lives on this planet and says that they're human beings. It's our problem. And I ask you to listen to your heart and understand that we're all connected. Since December, and with these additional deaths in this past week, I think we're up to 15 women, right? since December. Since December. That's not okay. That's not okay. All my relations.
My name is Danny Johnson. I'm originally from Alberta, Valley. My Indian name is Iron Bear Woman. I was given that name when I went to the Sundance this year. I'm here because over the past 20 years, I've worked in various communities. In Burnaby Corrections for Women. And at the last March, I was asked to come and do a ceremony for Little Ashley. It broke my heart. Again, how many times do we have to go through this? Such a beautiful young lady, and it hurt to sit on the ground where she died, where she fell. I followed Mona to find out where she was working. And I found this beautiful lady on her hands and knees trying to clean up the Aboriginal front door. And I see her working 17 hours a day, all the time. Her work is never done. Her little staff. We hold little healing circles there. And over the weekend, I've been having people come forward, young women, like yes, Martin Trombley, made her a victim too. You know, I believe just Saturday and Sunday, I heard about 3 more women. You know, it's devastating. It's devastating. I have a 15-year-old grandson. He was going to come with me today. He wasn't feeling well this morning, so I didn't want to walk in the rain. I had a long talk with him for about 2 hours. And I told him that these predators have no respect. Whether you're a little boy or a little girl, they just have no respect. And that to talk with his friends, to be careful. Be careful of older people that want to become your friends. I love my grandchildren. I'm fortunate I have 12. I have 4 great-grandchildren now. And I'm honored to be here with all these beautiful ladies, you know, that have been in this march for many years. This is going to be my first march, and I'm honored to be here. I feel, you know, we all are responsible to make our streets safe. You know, all of us.
And yet, I see our community making progress. Slow, but we're making progress. And I want to thank you. Thank you for your time and your courtesy, and honor all of you, all my relations.
It's the first march that you're going to be holding, obviously, since Picton's case was basically shut for good. And I'm just wondering if any of you have any reflections on what it means with that in sort of the back of your mind. Is it something that you think about at all?
You know, one of the things that shocked me and motivated me the most was the fact that while I was in the prison, this man was already out there doing damage. And yes, I was aware of it, but I didn't understand the full extent of what he was doing or where he was. You know, and how he was coming down here and taking the girls. You know, when you look at the posters of all those women, they were a lot of the women that I worked with. Georgina Pappen, you know, Marina Fry, so many names. And, you know, I'm thankful he's in a safe place, because if he wasn't, he wouldn't be safe around me.
I got something to say. Like, in terms of like Picton being arrested and in charge.
Excuse me, could you speak that to the mic? Anybody who's speaking, because otherwise it's not picked up.
Well, my name is Lisa Yellowford again, and you know, like I knew Picton, right? And I testified at Picton's trial, so I went through that process, and my name was the one where that was banned, right? So because of a lot of shame that I carried around that at that time. And so anyway, you know, like, and I think now, like, okay, we're going on this march, and we're going to remember the women that have passed, and we're going to talk to the issues of, you know, systemic violence and the ongoing the ongoing violence. Every day, there's ongoing violence. And I think, you know, like, like in my mind, I think, you know, so what, they fucking picked him up. So what, they fucking charged him. And so what, he's in fucking jail. That's just one. And he had a fucking army around him. He had people supporting him. He had government allowing him to clean up the backyard, basically. You know? He had society making him okay to do what he did, and people like him to do what he did. So, I mean, you know, like, I think that us coming all together like this, and, you know, the work never ends. Yes, Picton's over here, and, you know, we have a poster boy for, you know, murder and rape, you know, but he's not the one. He was sanctioned by our apathy and our allowance and lack of responsibility and accountability for the systems that are already in place. And so that's why we continue to march, continue to stand in solidarity. You know, we continue to talk about it, and we continue to heal. It's ongoing. You know, like, so when we talk about Picton, I think, big deal. You know, they want to hold him responsible for all the, like, an X amount of, women during a certain, very limited time frame. But you know, the real perpetrators, BPD, you know, and the corporations, all, you know, it's just huge. It's huge, and you know what? We're just ready to take that on anyway. You know, we have to continue to speak to that. I'm not sorry.
Next question for Marlene.
Marlene, I just want to ask you, this march is taking place just days after the Vancouver police announced a crackdown about predators who preying upon women in the Downtown Eastside, Martin Tremblay, et cetera, et cetera. How do you feel going into this march this year, given the high-profile crackdown by the VPD on perpetrators of violence?
Well, we've known for quite a few years that women in this community, and as recent as Ashley Machesnik's death in September, that women in this community have been assaulted, raped, and in some cases murdered by drug dealers in the Downtown Eastside. And through the efforts of, and it did take Ashley Machesnik's death to bring the Vancouver Police Department to the table to talk to women's groups and organizations in the Downtown Eastside around to address the violence against women that's happening in this community directly. And when society turns a blind eye to all of those social issues and think that, you know, drug dealing is a harmless crime, it isn't. There are victims, and you know, those are families that are affected, multiple layers. Every person that comes to buy drugs off of drug dealers are in some cases taking food away from their children, taking clothing away from their children, or in some cases having their children put into foster care because of their addictions. It's not a harmless crime by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever.
So
It's affecting people.
Do you think you're making some progress here with the VPD coming to the table?
I think every time that we have a meeting with the Vancouver Police Department that we are making some inroads. And as evidenced by last Thursday's display of the drugs and the cache of arms and the bulletproof vests, and you know, that's the arsenal that the drug dealers have got. And you know, to women in this community that are defenseless or that have addictions, that's what they're up against.
I'd like to add just one thing. Can you hear me if I stay here? I'd like to just add one thing about the work with the police. It's good to see the results of their investigations. It's good that they're investigating. Under no circumstances do, and I think I can speak on behalf of the coalition here, under no circumstances do we want to be babysitters for law enforcement in order to do their jobs. And to a certain extent, that's what we've become. And that it was a result of that prolific serial killer that drew attention to the problems within law enforcement in terms of how they do their investigations, the systemic racism, the attitudinal racism, and the jurisdictional issues between them. Now, we're in a new day today in that we're seeing law enforcement actually connecting the dots. Under no circumstances do I want to be babysitting them in order to do their work. I want them to do their work. I want them to do their jobs. I want them to take the issues of violence against in this community seriously. So, we're working with them, holding their feet to the fire in order for them to do their jobs. And I expect that they would do their jobs without that. That's an expectation. And that remains to be seen. So, though I think that we're optimistic, and I think that we have a measure of appreciation, it remains to be seen. We have a 100-year of history of law enforcement's lack of attention to marginalized women and violence, and women in general and violence. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen.
The Aboriginal people's experience with RCMP and the police force has always had a colonial experience, and it's from that experience that continues with some of the structural institutionalized biases that happen within Vancouver Police Department and in the way that they do policing. And as Angela pointed out, that we are having more conversations and dialogue, and we're feeling very positive about it. But at the same time, you know, you can make damn sure that we're going to be holding them accountable for everything they say, and be watching on all of the issues that come up with respect to violence against women, and any other issues that are that we see on the ground level in the trenches of the Downtown Eastside. We're going to be addressing those issues as they come up and responding to the crisis that happens on a daily basis for some of these people. So, thank you.
I have a question. Nathan, in your writing, you said that there's been 15 women who are missing or being murdered since September of this year.
December.
Yes,
December.
December this year?
Yeah.
You mean 2010?
No, I mean from December 2010 to now.
In a month, there's been 15 women missing or murdered.
That's right.
So are you saying that there's more than one predator or perhaps even another serial killer that obviously there's more than one predator?
Hi, delighted to
You know, this is such, what do I want to say, such a crisis. I can't stress, or we can't stress, the seriousness of this issue right now. There are a number of things that we are concerned about. Aside from women that go missing and or are murdered, there is a whole nother strategy that drug dealers are using right now, and it's called top capping. And what it means is that overdoses are applied to vulnerable women. I have to go back to this. I mean, if we have a concern, it is about how this issue is portrayed in the press. And I can't stress enough on behalf of these women how important it is, for example, if the RCMP or the BPD call a press conference. We agree that it's great that we're at the table, but we also know, as Mona has said, that this is years and years of racism and ignoring our pleas for help. And what has happened is now there are many people coming on board about this issue, and you know, that's a good thing. However, you cannot erase the years and years of abuse by the system by sitting at the table. That's not going to heal the history, but it also needs to be more of an in-depth effort of collaboration, because these are the people that work in this community, and they know. They are the ones who the women come to when they're in trouble or when they're in crisis. And those facts don't get to the table when we're talking to the police. They don't. They address a packaged issue, let's say, for lack of a better way to describe it. We really believe that in order for this issue to be addressed, we have to go to the heart of the problem. And the heart of the problem is the poverty. The heart of the problem is not having our voice heard. And so, as much as we're talking to the police, we're talking about addressing that, we really believe that the other part of the solution of this is to talk about the causes. And the causes are, there's a list. But we have to look at the whole picture. And dealing with an issue when it gets to the crisis point means that it'll always be at the crisis point instead of going to the root of the issue. Aboriginal Front Door, Battered Women's Services, Downtown Eastside Women's Center. We all have women that have gone on that murdered list who have come to those places. And so that means that instead of cutting women's program funding, instead of eliminating possible solutions, that there needs to be two roads traveled in parallel, because we need to address the immediate issue, but we also need to address the causes, the root causes. All my relations.
I just want to quickly say that you asked about 15 women being murdered. I think that that's something that I really want to put on you as reporters. We don't have the capacity necessarily to be keeping track of all the murders. I know that there's a lot. There's been a lot in the last few months, the disappearances and murders of women in the Lower Mainland, throughout Metro Vancouver. So I encourage you actually to take that on in terms of looking at the numbers of the murders that have been recent, and also looking at the disappearances. I encourage you to do that, and to start paying attention to those numbers, because they look high to us. We don't have the exact numbers, but you could, you have that ability to check that out.
But as far as you know, you have 15 as...
There's been a lot. There's been a large number of women that have gone missing and been murdered in the last while. Almost every week. Yeah, for different reasons, it looks like. And we'll know today what happens with, I don't know her last name, but Jennifer, who was seemed to be disappeared from Surrey and was found in North Van. And I guess she'll be at that press conference at 2 o'clock. And Carla Marie Smith. So we're looking at 2 women right there, and I just talked about Nikita, who's gone missing. So that's 3, in a period of what, 2 weeks? So, I think that you've got the capacity to connect the dots on that and see what's going on. And we just, as you know, we just had, what's seemingly a very normal man who was just convicted, and sentenced to 23 years for killing 2 women, 2 vulnerable women. And that was on Thursday. Again, if there was any doubt that there's a war on women, I think you should be reporting on the war on women. Can you report on the war on women? And can you frame it as a war on women? Because I'm looking around and I'm seeing a lot of casualties. I'm seeing a lot of casualties. And those are the women that disappear or are found dead. There are plenty right now that are living in their homes or living on the streets in fear. I'd like you to report on that, please. The war on women. And I'd like for men to take responsibility in terms of urging men to own their role in ending the violence, because violence against women will stop when men stop it.
I have one more question. 75 children were left behind. What happened to the children?
We know that in many of the instances of the victims from the farm, that they had left behind 75 children, and for the most part, most of those children are in care in the respective provinces that they're from. So we know that, very few of the families were able to step forward and take care of the children. So there are 75 children that are without their moms.
So, a part of, problem is, at the government level, there's no ministry with the name of women, the name of women in any ministry. So, what that says is that, we're not on the agenda. So in a period, women all over Canada, not just Aboriginal women, not just the marginalized women, the Downtown Eastside, Aboriginal women of color, but any woman. And so, that's just so telling about how, women have, I don't know, I want to accuse the government of just, using women and violence against women as a business, without, putting money into it for the resources so that, other institutions and systems like the ministry can continue to exist and, further colonize and genocide in Indigenous people's lives and marginalize women and children's lives, right? It maintains that sickness in Canada, our passive aggressive country, the biggest perpetrator of violence. Colonization is an act that, subjects people to violence through laws, legislation, and the encroachment of settlers who benefit off the problem, who benefit from the oppression of the peoples who were here, and it continues to exist. So colonization is refined now. It's different. It's still the same. We're still, in the beginning we had to, remove the women from the center. We have to change the men's roles, and those roles are in place now. The men have changed their roles, and now they're beating us up and killing us and, doing all those things to us so that these other systems can come in and take the kids and, prepare them for their roles in marginalization. And so Canada can start putting women on the agenda. Put women at some kind of front and center. They can reinstate the Ministry of Women. Sorry. Anyway, this is weird.
Give us back our land.
I have a question. Last year, when the head of the inquiry into the missing and murdered women at the East Side, the head was announced, Wally Opal. They also announced that they were going to erect some sort of memorial for the women, and that they wanted to work with the families of the murdered and missing women. And I was wondering if there had been any developments on that. Are they actively reaching out to make this happen?
And that's been a program or, an effort that Kelly Wright has been working on for a great number of months, is to get the three levels of government to be able to step forward and help the families to repatriate their daughters' remains that are still sitting in the coroner's office. And as far as Kelly knows, that there are around 30 women's remains that are still in the coroner's office that need to be repatriated and brought home. So we are working on that, and we certainly hope that the three levels of government would put some money towards that effort, and just to the women cannot rest until they're brought home. Thanks. So if that's all
Could you mention about the not to film?
We will not be allowing cameras into the theater today. We're going to save that space for family members. And when we start the march, if we can just ask cameras respectfully not to film at each of the ceremony sites when the ceremony is going on, please. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.